Man, I love that groove. And even though I can't really hear it very well, when I view the video afterwards, I'm just like, yeah.
I've never watched one of these. I've never watched a video.
Really?
No, I just forget about doing it and hope my brain buries the trauma of being live on YouTube.
Well, is it because maybe there's like two Joes? It's like a split personality type of thing. Like you're doing this now, but then the other Joe, like the evil Joe or something, comes out later and doesn't remember doing it, or vice versa. You're the good Joe, and then the evil.
For me, I just never watch. Show up, talk, and then on to other stuff.
Yeah, actually, I do watch them sometimes because I try to remember. Sometimes I review like when you and Alex answer some questions. I just kind of listen back to it again and try to to catch again if I missed something. Because you guys really answer really well. I mean, I just kind of babble on sometimes, but you guys have these really nice and solid and like well thought out answers, and it's just good stuff. So sometimes I just kind of go back and check them out. Well, hey everybody, it's time. Is that time again? Let's try it again. Hey everybody, it's that time of the week again where we're gonna tell you some stuff, and then you're gonna ask us some stuff, and then I'm gonna say some stuff, and then Joe is gonna pretend like he's not going crazy for me acting crazy. An AMA, right? Our weekly AMA. Welcome. So let's start. Well, I had a pretty busy week actually on my end. Yes, the integration continues. Yes, we're getting really close. I think we actually had to write some custom code, right, Joe?
Yeah, we've been doing technical support for a bit. We've actually, been given list state from the marketing team and then rolled over it a couple of times. So it's all on the technical.
Well, the thing about it is that what we're doing right now is actually going to help us in the future to list with other exchanges. So it's good. It's good. It's not great, but we're getting some good out of this. Because we're developing tools for us to be able to use at future exchange listings to make things move a lot smoother. But again, guys, I know everybody wants us to get on there. We want it as much as you do. We will get there. Like I said, like we said, we're in the stretch now, and before you know it, we're all going to be sitting back having another Ergo mixer. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but it's like every time I see Ergo mixer, it kind of reminds me of like a party with Ergo people. It's like, yo, it's an Ergo mixer. Anyway, I think of weird stuff. Okay. Anyway, yeah, but you get what I'm getting at. Okay, so soon. Okay, really, really soon. Joe and I have a pretty good idea of how soon. We just can't disclose any dates right now, just to not set false expectations. So as soon as we have a solid date, we will definitely let you know. We're definitely heading in the right direction. I'm also opening conversations with other exchanges. So we're definitely going to be ready for when things pick up. Yeah. So the next item up for bid is the education course. And again, we've been working out and trying to kind of work out the logistics of it, the education course at the university in Thailand that I spoke about before. And that's actually coming along well. We should have the curriculum done and most likely launch it for the spring semester. So as soon as we have solid dates and when the course is going to be available, and it's not just going to be one course, it's going to be several courses, we will let you know, and we'll let you know how to check it out, how to get on it, how to even contribute to it. So really excited about that, and really looking forward to doing that. I'm also myself going to be doing a bit in there about business development using blockchain or blockchain technology. So I'm also really excited about that, to be able to personally add to the curriculum. So good stuff. So one last thing, and last but not least, is we are getting more and more interest in joining us at the CNFT Con in Las Vegas in the beginning of October. So again, thank you all for who already reached out to me on Telegram. Please, those of you who still would like to participate in any way, please feel free to reach out to me, and we will make it happen for you. That's about it from my end. What's up with you, Joe?
Oh, we had the weekly developer update yesterday on Discord. There will be a video coming out that kind of covers that on Sunday. Probably the thing that I don't know needs the most props lately in our ecosystem is we have a developer named Cheese Enthusiast who's kind of been working on creating an open source library for plasma scaling, and so far that's being picked up and played with, and potentially will be plugged into multiple applications across the ecosystem. Everything from mass NFT minting to improved staking mechanics. Just really huge to watch. The AVL trees kind of circulate throughout the ecosystem, see where they fit in different projects. So I've probably got to give a big shout out to Big Cheese for his work there. It's amazing. He's a member of the GitBlock team. They were the first ones to implement that, but it looks like now, being that it's open source and getting plugged into multiple applications, we're going to see some serious performance improvements on the application side. So huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else, Joe? Is that about it? We had our Ergo Summit. Ergo Summit. How did that go?
We had a lot of videos come out. I hope everybody tuned in, learned a little bit about DeFi. Everything from Alex talking just about, cryptographic assumptions to Chris Ray getting into ErgoLand, talks about community, it's good stuff. It's been an interesting week in kind of the macro in our industry. Obviously everybody is kind of watching the Ethereum merge, which, personally, I hope, there's not too much like a technical headache around that. I hope they're successful, because that's just not good for everybody if they're not. But it has brought up a lot of, let's just say, central questions that I don't know, when markets are hot, people ask, kind of the wrong questions in terms of assumptions, and we get into the like moon, dog coin, rocket ship, eggplant emoji style chats. And, we really get away from really asking questions that, I don't know, are kind of philosophically important or principled in terms of like levels of control from outside parties and censorship resistance and, why privacy matters. And it's nice to see, like core principles being discussed again. It's been a while, it really has. It felt like it's been probably 2 years every once in a while when things consolidate. People ask, in my opinion, just the right questions. And, across the industry, there's a lot of projects, whether it's, layer 0, layer 1, decentralized hosting, all kinds of different ideas that, hopefully one day can be plugged together and we can really get a fully decentralized stack that, encompasses Web3 and is just unstoppable. So, I know that then markets get hot and everyone's like, oh, what's the next, rocket ship emoji, eggplant emoji trade for like the short term? But the technology is out there, it's developing, and whether it's, optimistic rollups or, even something like NIM on layer 0, there's a tremendous amount of evolution that's occurred since like the last time we had this conversation. And I hope that, if things, improve, we go through another cycle at some point. By the time we come back and have this core conversation again, the technology is there to start really building a fully decentralized stack that's performing.
Well, I think, Joe, I mean, you're right about that very much about the whole. What's great about our industry is no matter how, moon boyish, eggplant emoji-ish we get during bull runs, right? Sooner or later, we have this kind of cleansing period, right? More than any other industry that I've seen. This cleansing period where, the noise dies down, the tech comes back up,
Yeah.
and really the builders come back, because you know what? Just from personal experience, like right now, building the products with Zengate, building Palmyra, I feel lucky to be able to build it now while there is no moon boy, where's my 1000x bullshit noise from everywhere, that we can actually build, we can get the attention of the right people. We can invest proper time into these things, into these things to really build them out properly, to design them properly. And yeah, I remember, I mean, since I've been in crypto or in blockchain, I've been in blockchain since around 2015. So again, about 7 years now. Yeah, every couple of years you do go through these cycles, right? So you go through the whole like explosion, move to the next level, prices, everybody's a millionaire, then everybody's broke, then everybody's a millionaire again, blah, 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 blah. And then we just get back and we during that time, I mean, right before that time and coming into that time and during that time, we still do keep building, right? Mm-hmm. But then after that, this facade of speculative bullshit sheds away, but the technology remains. And then we start really kind of picking apart what it is that we have built and how it is in sync with the core principles of what the blockchain movement is about. And, it started with P2P cash. I mean, like, for example, this time around NFTs, right? NFTs are, there was there's still a lot of speculative BS going on around NFTs, but actual utility this time around is being utilized and looked at a lot more carefully, a lot more thoroughly than it was back in, 2018, because back in 2018, 2017, I was already thinking, tokenization is the way. I was already talking to projects about tokenization, but it just wasn't developed enough. It wasn't evolved enough. Now,
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Now we're still kind of in like hopefully the later stages of the dick butt phase, or we still have like that I don't know. It's more like brand, just branding, I guess, which isn't, good or bad. Humans do that in pretty much everything. But, there is utility there that, is to be explored and, potentially has a tremendous amount of value if the system behind it is right. But I don't know. I'm kind of, let's say, not necessarily happy with, like the situation with Tornado Cash and OFAC, censoring code and a developer getting arrested. That's pretty wild. That kind of takes us back to like the time when cryptography was classified as a munition and, the export of it was, highly illegal. That kind of brings back bad memories. But anyway, you had people at that point who just kept building. And look at where we are today. So I think that's ultimately the best way to respond is just keep building.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get to the questions. So here's I guess it's a question that we can both answer, me and you, Joe. So with the Cardano Summit date soon to be announced, is there any plan to have a side event for Ergo as well? So we haven't discussed that, but I mean, I don't see why not. If it's logistically possible for us, just like what we did with the Ergo meetup at Consensus. If it's logistically possible, then I think I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
I have no idea where it is. I know the last one was in Wyoming. I actually,
thing.
yeah, I was gonna go to the last one, and I was like 6 months out. Don't pick this one weekend. Don't pick this one weekend, and then guess which. So,
Yeah, they picked up. Yeah, they did. Well, yeah, I mean, that's basically my point. It depends on where it is. I mean, if it's somewhere where there's, a lot of people that can get there that, if it's like in the U.S. somewhere and in a, more or less accessible place, or if it's somewhere in Europe, again, more or less accessible place, then I guess it's possible. Zengi would be more than happy to sponsor or work with the Ergo Foundation once more to put together an event. But again, it all depends on where it is. So we don't really have any information just yet. It's kind of early. Once it is more defined by the Cardano Foundation, we will definitely let you guys know and see what we can do.
yeah, I'm up for that. One thing I'd like to mention here is like a long time ago, we were having a discussion in the Ergo Foundation, and in terms of like travel for members and whatnot, it's a question. I don't really want the community to pay for me to go on vacation, right? I mean, it'd be nice, but the reality is it's community money, and so it's something that if we're able to set that up. I want to cover the cost of travel myself. I don't want to take from the community treasury development budget, that type of thing, so I can go have a good time for a weekend. I don't think that's, it's just not an integrity for like the people that mined and donated that money. So, if that's able to happen, it's going to be on me to carry it. I'm happy to do that if it's possible.
Excellent. Yeah. So again, we shall see, but not undoable. We just need to see what logistically what it looks like. So let's go to the next one. And so here's actually just a recap of what I was talking about. So any updates on the Ergo University College curriculum partnerships? Again, that's in process right now. We're probably going to be announcing exactly what it is by October, or exactly what courses are we putting into place by October. And the actual courses we will most likely launch for the spring semester of 2023.
Yeah. There's some good community tooling that's coming together, both on JavaScript, and I know that Nautilus had planned to make a toolkit in C++ as well. And we also have a new semester of Deco that's coming out. So, that is always a good way to kind of onboard new developers, get people from the community that are interested involved. And actually, in the weekly update, I believe there was one developer who got an internship position with application in our ecosystem that is actually not even attended Deco yet, but just wanted to learn, and so kind of put themselves in a position where, not only are they going to learn with Deco, but they're also going to be interacting and learning from an active project, which is huge. And that type of initiative, I have to kind of tip my hat to.
Yeah, a lot of really good education material in the Ergo ecosystem, and we're definitely going to be working together with the people that put together this material and adding it to the curriculum. We're already talking to several people in the community about it, and yeah, really happy about this, and really happy about being able to put together this really great curriculum for everybody. So we have another actually pretty good question. So it's from X, and it's digital events versus real world events, pros and cons. So from my end, digital events, I guess, are more accessible to more people theoretically or logistically because they're digital. People don't have to leave their home. People can just kind of tune in and sign on and pick what they want to see when they want to see it. And a lot of times, if it's not live and it's something they want to watch live, Yeah, so accessibility in a way is theoretically better than a real world event, because real world events you have to go there. Yeah, and as we know, some people just don't like to go far, or don't like to leave their house. Some people like to, chainsaw stuff in their big mountainous property in Colorado. Anyway, those people are still our people, so we like to accommodate everybody. Now, real world events, what are the pros and cons? Well, pros are, okay, so to go back to visual events, the cons are that you, first of all, I believe personally that humans need to interact with other humans to really get the gist of, and many, I mean, I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but I think it's human nature, and it's better for people to really, if you interact face to face or physically, can touch something, can look at something, be there, kind of feel the atmosphere, you can absorb information in a different way. So that is in a way, a con of doing an online event, because even though you're there, you're not really there. With in-person events, it's a lot easier to really give more definition to things, to take more time, discover things, to take, to be able to expose yourself to the atmosphere of the event. To be able to really learn new things that you didn't think you were going to learn. Because a lot of times with an online event, what you do is you kind of go through the agenda, and you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and that's it. And you just tune in for that, right? You don't go through the whole thing and wait for those things, right? Some people do, but many people don't. With a live event, it's a lot different. You might have the same idea. You might want to, okay, I just want to go and watch this panel, and then I want to check out these booths and whatever, and I want to go to these meetups. But inadvertently, you end up also covering other things, like you're walking to your booth and you see another booth, and you're saying, oh, wait a second, what is this? Let me check this out, and you end up discovering something that you didn't plan to discover. The same with panels. You go, you're waiting for your panel to start, but somebody else comes in you didn't even look at, right? You didn't even think it was going to be interesting, but they are. Again, I think in a live atmosphere, that is a lot more likely to happen than it is in a virtual atmosphere. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
Sure. I think there are some things in life that do benefit from presence. Your ability to share food with someone, have a drink with them, shake their hand, that kind of thing. It's you just learn more being present with someone versus having distance. And then you also have another interesting breakdown, and I guess it's different from person to person, but that's like the level of energy invested tends to create more commitment and respect, right? So when you have to do something physically, well, you got the barrier of pants, which digital events don't have that barrier, right? And you have to travel, you have expenses. So you have energy input into that experience. And so for most people, they're going to be a lot more engaged, focused, and looking to create some sort of return for the energy it took for them to invest in that. Versus if it's a digital event, it's click a button. Some people don't get out of bed, So I definitely think there are pros and cons to both. But, there are things in life that you just need presence for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're in agreement with that. This is actually a really interesting question. And this is, we were actually Joe and I were talking about just, general tokenomics questions and different options and everything. So this is really interesting. So hi, Dan, how Joe? Great seeing you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Drianto, I'm sorry, I was going to call Yes, I was going to say Adriano, but I screw people's names up a lot. I'm sorry. And when will ERG circulating supply reach 100%? And what is the big plan after that? Thanks. So, Joe, what happens when the ERG circulating supply reaches 100%?
So that'll be sometime in, I think, 2046. Then we have to look at other ways to create a security subsidy, which we've already been thinking about and planning for. Okay, so in proof of work, let's say Bitcoin, the traditional thought is, okay, fees are going to subsidize security. But then the reality is that is a sketchy path forward. I honestly don't think that's going to work, right? I don't think there's enough value that's being generated in fees to support the type of network that's there today. And I think that if the cap increases, then it's basically your attack cost just kind of is more profitable because you have less of an incentive and a higher cap. So that gap gets bigger, and that's kind of a profitability gap potentially. Now it's going to be interesting to see, number one, what happens. I think probably it's going to be a contentious point, like issue at some point. Some people will say, well, if we make the block space smaller, it creates more of a incentive to compete and pay more fees. And so hopefully we can create artificial scarcity on chain enough that it'll cover that. Some people think, there needs to be, scaling solutions that recycle fees back to miners. The reality is they don't have much of a plan in place. In Ergo, I think the storage rent is number one huge because it's kind of taking block space itself, the chain history, and making it a scarce resource that over time concentrates the value per byte. So we will have some recirculation of dust, and some miner fee will be charged in storage rent periodically, which, it's really not that heavy of a fee, and it is adjustable. So miners have, some ability to, make sure that the economics and market demand there makes sense. Now we also have an interesting vector, which is the launching native tokens via work. So potentially, we'll see projects that spin up that want to build on top of Ergo, and their distribution mechanism is proof of work, to where they allow miners to essentially mine native tokens. And with the implementation of Babel fees, they can swap that for their cash out profit to cover their costs, their infrastructure, pretty seamlessly. And the reality is, we may see that this year, right? We're not talking 2046. That's already being engineered. Now, I do think that storage rent potentially opens up a secondary economy for miners, mining pools themselves, to where they start to interact more with DeFi, which to some degree makes a lot of sense because they are the point of, let's say, they're the first to get ERG that, are released to miners. They're kind of like the first to touch ERG. So it does make sense that they become liquidity providers and interact more in terms of DeFi and different frameworks in the ecosystem. That never really happened in Ethereum proof of work. Now, I think we did see a lot of flash botting, flash loan arbitrage, wedge trading, that kind of thing, where they try to basically MEV the existing market. That's theoretically possible in an extended UTXO. It's just a lot harder. You'd have to chain things, and we'll see where that goes longer term. But I do think the ability for miners to have greater tools longer term, whether it's storage rent or native tokens, or the potential to create a return, is going to build a different incentive model than currently exists around proof of work. And over time, combination of factors should create some security subsidy to assist, in keeping miners paid long term. It's in the incentive of every single project on top of the network for that to happen. And so having, even if you had an existing project, potentially they could, offer some incentive for miners to keep mining.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the idea about native tokens utilizing proof of work for their own for their own ecosystems, and then using Babel fees to swap that, I think is actually a really good, good and sustainable way of going about things. And I mean, really, it has to be proportionate to the growth of the ecosystem, right? So, of course, there have to be enough projects that launch big enough ecosystems that will then make enough of a pot for this to happen, right? So there's a critical mass. But I think that's actually it's scalable, right? So that solution is scalable and sustainable. So I'm a fan of that particular solution myself. All right, so let's go to the next question. Oh, and this is actually a interesting question here. So, Dan and Joseph, what do both of you think about the future of Sigma Valley, and can we use it for an Ergo Summit someday? It's one of the more peculiar projects in ecosystem. I love Ilya. Actually, I have spoken to Ilya about that a little while back, about hosting an Ergo Summit in Sigma Valley. So Ilya is still, of course, developing Sigma Valley, and this is not going to happen, tomorrow. But yeah, this is something that we already spoke about. I'd love to see that happen. Actually, I think it would be really cool to have a Ergo Summit in Sigma Valley. What do you think, Joe?
I tend to really enjoy projects that have like organic growth that brings the community together and then just has unpredictable development. So, like in terms of what do I think about the future of Sigma Valley, I think I can't predict it. That's my first prediction. Because you have, creative people coming together. Maybe we see games plugged into it. Maybe it becomes a social channel. Maybe we see dApps there. I mean, the reality is whenever you have that type of organic growth, it kind of takes on a life of its own, and, we'll see where it goes, right? That's exciting. I'm definitely a fan of things that encourage people to collaborate, right? And so whenever you have those type of projects that, just get engagement, whether it's from other dApps or users, you kind of get a mind share. And I would say on my side, I'm just going to sit back, watch how it grows, and, enjoy that. In terms of a summit, I guess, yeah, it's possible. Maybe one day I'll be a cartoon there, and we'll do some kind of event. Who knows? Then it's.
Aren't you already a cartoon there? I know I am.
Oh, yeah, you're a cartoon. I don't know.
Well, I'm not talking about in real life. I'm talking about in Sigma Valley.
Yeah. So it will be fun. I mean, let's see what happens. There's a lot of potential creativity there, right? And whenever you have creative potential, it's just a matter of, okay, is there kind of like a community that's feeding that? And then where does it go? I have no idea, but I'm always excited to sit back and just watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cool project, and yeah, and Joe said, I think that there's actually a lot of so I think the metaverse right now is in a stage where NFTs were back in 2017. Okay. We still don't, I mean, everybody, like not everybody, but many want to like, oh, metaverse. It's cool. But they don't really know what to do with it just yet, right? They are trying to categorize it and file it and, shape it to fit a particular, I don't know, construct. But I seriously, personally, I don't think that there has been enough specific development and understanding of what the metaverse is and what the metaverse potential is for it to really be, to really know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, I definitely hope like the Facebook metaverse fails spectacularly because they try to engineer human development versus just let it grow organically and see where it goes. I don't know if you saw that, the Facebook metaverse thing they released.
That was terrible. I mean, well, it had no real, I mean, like real utility. You know, it wasn't really necessary. It's an example. This is actually an example that I bring up quite a bit. And it's not necessarily the same. It's just the technology wasn't there for this. So I don't know if maybe some of you go back far enough to know about VRML. I spoke about this probably in the past, but I used to develop in VRML probably back in the 90s, and it was the virtual reality modeling language. And basically, what it was it's a hypertext in a way a hypertext markup language, but you can create 3D objects and you can create kind of a metaverse basically, but in a web page. So basically, we create this 3D web page that you could walk through and have objects in there, and just you click on the wall and it does something. You click on the TV, it has links. I mean, it was cool, right? It was really interesting. You could model like your dream office or whatever, and then give it the different parts of it, different functions, put links in there, put information in there. I mean, but at that point, there just wasn't enough need for it. It was too ahead of its time. I mean, right now, if something like that came along, I'm not saying in that particular capacity, but it would have more use, because today you have Joe, what is the VR thing called? The Facebook helmet. Actually, I have one of those, and
Oculus, I think you're talking about.
Oculus. That's it. God, I see. I know what I have one, and my old brain just forgot. Yeah, the Oculus Rift. You have these devices that are in mainstream now that you can actually utilize for something like that, right? But back in the 90s, we didn't have that kind of stuff. This was inside a browser. And I mean, what are you going to do with a 3D page inside a browser? It's cool, but, not much real world utility to it. The same with the metaverse right now, even though it is there, and I'm not saying it's the same as VRML, I just don't think that we have really, really honed in on real utility, like the real utility that like the killer metaverse app. We don't have that just yet. I mean, we have Decentraland, we have all these other metaverses. We have people kind of excited about it because you got NFTs in it. But I'm yet to see a metaverse that really is like, yeah, okay, that's why it exists.
Yeah,
maybe that's a evolution.
Yeah, I think it's also a cultural problem. Like if a corporation tries to just spin up that type of construct, I think it's going to lack culture. It's going to probably like be moderate. Near you.
Sorry. That was me. Sorry about that, guys. I get calls at all times of the day and night from my parents because if any of you are Jewish, you know my pain. Yep, sorry about that. Continue, Joe. Continue.
Anyway, I was saying I think that in terms of like, I don't know, this corporate like metaverse, I have a serious question whether they'll be able to bootstrap organic culture. Just that simple. They tend to be very monolithic and kind of soulless to some degree. So I think that like open and free expression tends to develop a better culture. So I think that we will see just organic growth, and it's going to be unpredictable. Culture, is kind of unpredictable in terms of how humans organize and what they do. So let's just kind of sit back, let that happen, enjoy the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'd love to see something happen with the metaverse. I think it's cool. I really think it's cool. It's a cool concept. I always liked 3D virtual reality worlds. But again, even with Oculus, they still struggle, right? They still struggle to really create something where it's like, yeah, that's why you need this. It's cool. You got different apps and cool games, and it's nice to take on a plane with you, so you don't feel claustrophobic in there. But still, it just needs to evolve.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it.
Let's get to the next one here. Let's see. Well, okay. So, Joe, what about the ambassador program? Please tell about this.
Sure. So this has actually been something that we've been bootstrapping for a while. Okay. The general idea is we have all of these community members who are relatively active, right? They're relatively involved in, the Ergo ecosystem. Some of them moderate chats, some of them create art, some of them assist in editorial stuff, some of them do videos, some of them are coders. So we have this collective mind share in our community that we would like to try to create kind of like a community DAO around long term. Now, we do have Paideia in development, we do have Ergo team in development, and having a group of actors that have their own kind of organic incentive and have skills, right, I think is extremely valuable. And it kind of breaks down to like long term. One of the goals of the Ergo Foundation is just to kind of slowly, kind of creep back and just maintain the core of the protocol, and have educational tools around that, but really allow the community to take over and, build. Now, what could a community DAO potentially do? Well, if I were starting a project on top of Ergo, and you have a group of individuals with a variety of skill sets that are well connected in the ecosystem and have, are basically going to be a valuable group that you can collaborate with, I would probably want to have them as some sort of like team advisor in my project and potentially incentivize that. And so long term, what could that potentially bootstrap is kind of like an ecosystem DAO that helps projects come in, build the right way, helps, and they have a variety of skill sets that can, you leverage all of those as different projects would need it. And hopefully it creates kind of like a community reinforcement mechanism. So I know that Glasgow has probably 30 to 40 different contributors that all have, kind of gone through a process of, socializing and figuring out, what that could look like. And I actually submitted a proposal within the Ergo Foundation this week to, bootstrap them some initial seed funding. And, I hope that as that group comes in, develops, matures, it actually kind of is its own DAO that projects will look to, and it kind of creates its own sustainable funding mechanism that can incentivize growth, development, marketing, editorial stuff, potentially audits. There's a huge use case in terms of services that projects need in this industry, and pulling together community members that are already here, putting in some work. It's number one, a good way to show appreciation for, their time and energy spent, but it's also a good idea to kind of build a different type of mind share than what you would get through like just coding tutorials and kind of the development mind share that we're trying to build as well.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens with the ambassador program. Actually, myself. So here's a good question. Should community marketing efforts focus on attracting others already in crypto, or instead attract others from the real world? Well, I think both. I think that there's different levels of marketing and different types of people that we'd like to attract into the Ergo community. Of course, other crypto people, because they understand fundamentals, or at least some do. Understand what fundamentals are good. P2P currency really is all about, what the blockchain movement is all about. And if they do understand it, they'll find Ergo really attractive, like I did, for example, like many in the Cardano community do, actually. But it's not this or that, it has to be both. So I think that part of what needs to happen to attract the people that are not blockchain people specifically, so to attract them into the community, we need to have more real world adoption. We need to have more of just making people's lives easier and better using what the technology that we have. In fact, one of Ergo's mottos is blockchain for everyday people. And as the community grows, as the ecosystem grows, and as more projects develop and come out and become more and more adopted, I think more and more that is good marketing, and that's something that we can use to market to people that are not particularly in the blockchain and crypto space, but would be interested. How did this happen? How did microlending happen? Say how did Ergoline happen? How did this DAO, right? How did this DAO run my local store? Right, my local store decided they're a DAO, and then they changed to the DAO system, and now actually it runs better and it's much more efficient. How did that happen? People are naturally curious, and I think that the more we get, the more natural and mainstream adoption we get, a wider adoption we get, the more it can be used for marketing to people who are not necessarily blockchain people. What do you think, Joe?
I think education is important. Whether it's developer education, educating people that are already in the crypto space, educating people that are new to the crypto space, educating people that are potentially looking into the crypto space, and obviously user education as well, in terms of like the risks and how to work with the ecosystem. I think all of that is huge. And, the reality is, in our industry, I think that collectively the idea of really educating users is very much buried behind, shiny marketing, right? And I tend to say, in terms of like organic efforts, education is going to be the way long term. It number one will help bootstrap everything, and sometimes shininess is just a temporary facade in this industry. So I think people need to keep that in mind too. Is your intent really to educate and improve, have good discussions, or is it just to kind of shill, right? And so, like long term, if you could ask the question, like someone in the real world that has no exposure into this industry, how do you educate them in a way that protects them, not gets them excited, and then what do they buy, Dogecoin when Elon Musk is on Saturday Night Live, and then they're destroyed financially, right? Like we really need to focus on education. So I would, to some degree, want to use a different word there versus marketing. Marketing is not bad, but good marketing is education, right? And if you have educate someone on and it's valuable, it tends to sell itself.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. That, education is always a really good entry point into markets that you're not already. It's not intimidating. People like to learn naturally, and if you just make it palatable, if you make it digestible and approachable, then yeah, people will go for it because the worst thing is going to happen is that they're not going to get it. They're okay. I don't get it. Like, okay, I still don't get it. Oh well. But most people will get it if it's a good education course. This is why I'm so passionate about this course that we're doing in Thailand, is because I really think that this is something, and not just in Thailand. I want to make this. I want to make this happen in many different places, and that is because it's so important to really have a medium to really be able to tell people about it, where they're not intimidated by it, where they're not put on the spot by it, and where you can actually take the time to truly explain and understand what these things are about, to spend time with people, and to maybe do something one-on-one or 1-on-10, in just small groups, and really getting it through to people, because it has a network effect, right? So you have a group of 10 people that you really get through to, you get through to these people, they get it where they didn't get it before, they now get it. Those people go out and they'll talk to a bunch of other people. Each one of them will go out and they'll explain things to people that weren't in it. And before you know it, that 10 people talk to 10 people individually, so now it becomes, 110 people. So it just spreads out, there's this network effect, this butterfly effect that happens. And it just happens with education, because people want to learn, and then people want to tell other people if something is cool, if something is exciting, they want to tell other people. So yeah, definitely education. Absolutely. Let's see. So, let's see. Okay, so here's an interesting question, and actually, I'd like to also know this, if Joe has some information on this. Is there a supply chain solution being built on Ergo? Do you know of any, Joe?
Well, one thing that periodically I think is good to cover is Ergo is an open network, right? So, potentially there are, somebody out there that I'm not aware of them, but the Ergo Foundation as a whole, we just do research developments and we release frameworks and tools, right? So we actually are trying to not be the hand of the market that controls bills and profits from what's built on the ecosystem. That's, it kind of trends towards like a centralized company. Our goal is to try to build the frameworks that developers will need and the tools to allow them to create their own business solutions, right? So, it's kind of like we're not the application developer on your phone. We're more of like just the base operating system. So sometimes in crypto, people come and they're saying, okay, well, if you were to like give us your mission, what are you doing? And to some degree that kind of stifles the organic growth that can come around just passing it to people to play in a certain environment, right? There's a lot of applications out there that, get very popular. Like, who would have thought shooting birds with slingshots would be, a thing, or, all kinds of different games that come out, on mobile devices. The same thing is true on blockchain. I think that having like a central solution is not a good idea. Having that like our marketing gimmick is not a good idea. But if someone says, okay, let's look at the tools that we would need to create a supply chain solution, yeah, we could look at frameworks that might be needed and how that could work and build some of like the core infrastructure that somebody could then build a supply chain solution on top of that. But in terms of like actually building it, branding it, bringing it to market, tokenizing it, that's not what the Ergo Foundation does.
Yeah, just from my end, I know that part of what we're building with Zengate with Palmyra Comdex is going to rely on a traceability solution, which we will be utilizing Ergo for. So again, it's in the plans. But again, Joe is right. As far as the foundation is concerned, I really, and that's what I really admire about the ecosystem and about the Ergo Foundation. There's too many decentralized blockchains out there that have a centralized entity that's basically calling the shots. And it's usually the foundation. The foundation is calling the shots. And it's like, well, I thought you guys are decentralized. Why is the foundation making deals and signing partnerships with for-profit companies and then doing marketing like that? Why? The foundation is supposed to be neutral. It should do foundation stuff. It should govern the ecosystem. It should participate in developing the core protocol. So I'm with you on that, Joe. I think that the foundation should stay as neutral as possible and let the ecosystem decide and let the people decide what they want to build on it.
Just talk to them and say, hey, what do you in terms of tooling, and then support. But in terms of like product creation, branding, tokenization, all of that, we don't want to be in the market. Because as soon as we just say we did, then guess what? Who's going to come in and create a competing solution against a centralized entity? He just ruined the entire concept of like a free market and open network.
Yeah. All right. I think we have time for one more question. Oh, and so just a really quick, Bryce says, Dan, love the shirt. Yes, guys, this is, speaking of the 90s, this is my Jurassic Park shirt. That's right. Some of you might have not been born, but I saw this in theaters. And okay, anyway. Did you see that in theaters, Joe? It's a trick question. And there's a wonderful song by Weird Al about Jurassic Park. It's like, Jurassic Park is frightening in the dark. All the dinosaurs are running wild. It's also a 90s thing. Anyway. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with any more 90s talk. Let's get to one last question. All right. And all right. So you know what? Let's keep it. I mean, I don't know. What do you want to do, Joe? Do you want to do a more technical question or a more like a general ecosystem question?
Too early for me to make the choice. Go for it.
All right. I think. You know what? Let's do one technical question just for, just for shits and giggles. And let's see. All right. So. Okay. Well, actually, let's go with this one. This is a good one. And this kind of ties in with what we were talking about before. So as a coder and a dev, what are your top 3 use cases and potential projects that can be massive for the Ergo community? So what would you say, Joe? What would you like to see built out more?
Okay, so I think that DeFi is probably going to be the most interesting use case long term. But then you have to say, okay, how do we balance that in a way that is really decentralized, resistant, censorship resistant, and creates value that isn't going to be at risk I think, SIG-USD is a good start in terms of a decentralized stablecoin. I'm pretty excited about DEXI. I think there's a lot of potential DeFi frameworks out there that could do just a better job at being resilient than something like USDT, USDC. And personally, I think having that in the community versus some like external actor is so much more valuable and like resilient long term. So I think research and development around core elements of DeFi is still needed in this space. Because right now, basically what we've done is brought in a central dependency that, brings in censorship risk with Ethereum potentially now has governance control over any type of network changes. So we really need to look at what parts of the industry that we're in are kind of now the third party that we need to get away from. And, long term, I think that could even include exchanges, right? Where, to some degree, I would love to wake up in an industry 3 years from now to where, you have mechanisms to onboard directly into ecosystems and you don't have to deal with those third parties. The same thing is true with mining pools. I would say some mining pools, that's one of the reasons GitBlock exists, is they kind of are a black box that miners have to trust. And so getting rid of trusted parties and building internal frameworks that are more resilient to like external influence long term, I think are massive. Like that's a huge value add that whether it's the consensus of the mining pools, the market of the exchanges, or just the internal core mechanisms of DeFi. I think really thinking about how we can remove dependencies and control risks could build a insulated system that is much more resilient long term. But that's hard to do. That takes time. That's not an easy task to just drop. But anyway, you want an honest answer? That's my honest answer.
Yeah. Well, I would say, okay, so we're picking three, right? So yeah, definitely DeFi, but not just DeFi, DeFi components, right? So we already have DeFi tooling on Ergo. And so I would like to see more kind of plug and play DeFi solutions that can be used with other projects, right? So other projects build an ecosystem. I would like to see DeFi solutions be kind of more of like a plug and play, well, virtually plug and play for different parts, like for micro lending, for liquidity provisions, for something like, like a DEX framework, just something like that, something that's readily available for people to use as a template and to plug into their project. I think that would be really, really useful. I also think that real world use case, like for example, what was mentioned before with traceability, with digital identity, those types of solutions, I think would be really good to build out. I mean, I'm talking more about products right now, obviously. That would be really good to build out on Ergo, I think, or to utilize Ergo, because Ergo is a highly secure blockchain. And again, you can add to the security of the blockchain, so you can incentivize, for example, if you have a DID solution on Ergo, you can incentivize the people that are, or the organization that's implementing the DID solution to add to the security of the network. So you can basically tell them, okay, you know what, if you'd like to contribute to this, you can run a few rigs, and add to the network. So it's a good incentive. And let's say one more. Yeah, I would just say, again, something that can be utilized by, I'm all about commercial adoption. And I don't mean commercial adoption in the sense that, let's make as much money as possible. I'm talking about commercial adoption in the sense that commercial adoption is where mass adoption happens a lot of times, right? So you get commercially adopted, you have real world use cases, you have people using it not just because it's blockchain, but because it makes their life easier because they want to use it, right? And so I guess my third one would be I would say, again, I guess it goes back to DeFi, but more financial solutions. Like what Joe said with in decentralized stablecoin. Things like that, things that can be utilized in the real world, in business, and it can be utilized for business, that does not require big time, real deep knowledge of what blockchain is about. Yes, I guess that would be my three. So I think, I think that's about it for us today, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot for joining us today. Of course, we're always available for you on all of our social media channels. And we will be, of course, it's getting a little late right now in Japan. It's like 11 o'clock, past 11. So my brain is going like, anyway. Of course, we'll be back same time, same channel next week. So if you got more questions, please don't hesitate to ask us next time. And you got any last words for everybody before we sign off, Joe?
Sure. Have a good one, everybody.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.